Hey guys, this is the instructional for the midpoint formula. We'll get right to it here. Steve and Joni are having lunch out in the park. How sweet. When a water pipe bursts beneath them. Not so sweet. The explosion of water sends the two flying an equal distance in opposite directions. And I'll come back and refer to that language in a second. If Steve ends up at coordinates negative 3, 3, 3, negative 33, negative 48, and Joni ends up at 1634, what were the coordinates of the exploding pipe? So, really the only tricky part here is understanding why this is a midpoint and what is it in the wording here that makes this a midpoint formula. So this is the key here, that the two fly an equal distance in opposite directions. So you can see that Joni flew this way, excuse me, a particular distance, and that distance is the same as the distance that Steve flew. So they both flew in opposite directions, the same distance. Because of that this distance is the same as this distance, that makes this, the point where they were eating where the pipe exploded, the midpoint. So that's my M right in there in case you couldn't quite make that out. And so really now we just have to apply the midpoint formula to the points that are here. And as usual, we're going to number these off, x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. And we'll write down that midpoint formula right away. Midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Really straightforward. I'm just going to caution you, to make sure you write down the formula correctly. For some reason, a lot of students love to put minuses in here. I think it has to do with the whole A formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But it's a common, I would call it more of a concentration error than an understanding error, but please make sure you copy that down correctly. Once you've got this and you've got your points labeled, it's really just a question of plugging in and solving. So x1 plus x2 is going to be, we'll open that bracket up, 16, right, for my x1, and negative 33, so plus negative 33, divided by 2, and then my y1, 34, plus negative 48 for my y2, divide that by 2. And those are our numbers all set up. So the calculator slides in here. And basically now I just got to crunch this. So 16 plus negative 33, or 16 minus 33, that comes to 17, negative 17, over 2, comma, and now I'll get the top part of this fraction over here, 34 plus negative 48, and that's going to come to negative 14. And that's divided by 2. I guess the last thing that maybe some students forget is they got to do that division. I mean, sometimes we just stop on the top. So make sure you finish it off. Negative 17 divided by 2. So negative 17 divided by 2 is negative 8.5. And then negative 14 divided by 2, I don't need the calculator for that one. Trust me on that. It's negative 7. So that point right there is the midpoint. This is where Steve and Joni were having lunch before that nasty water pipe blew them in opposite directions from each other, presumably ruining their lovely meal.